into the action for another day of the week. Welcome to the Wednesday edition of Chasing That Paper, presented by VegasInsider.com. And oh, baby, coming off a hell of a night. Betting there last night, 4-1, absolutely crushed the NBA. A little over 3 units. The night, one of the better nights of the year here, 2023 so far. I couldn't have been more wrong, though, on that San Jose Sharks pick in the NHL there, over 2.5 goals. They scored a grand total of 0. I think they had 12 or 14 shots on net, so way off on that one. But a pretty good day, so we're going to try to bring that winning energy into today. A very special show, a big NBA show today with a pretty big ice dog as well, and a very special guest. Let's bring him in here, my buddy from the Action Network, friend of the show, gentleman, Gilles Gallant. Gilles, welcome to the show.
Joe, it's always good to be here. It's always good to work my way back into the friend rankings. I know that I probably have been unranked for a while, and so I think this is just the step that I got to take to get back to that top rung.
All right, Gilles, so let's bring the viewers behind the scenes here a little bit. As you know, a pretty casual environment around here at Chasing That Paper. Producer Tito is often nude in our pre-show meeting, but he does shoot from the waist up, so we appreciate that. So give the viewers at home a bit of a sense of your work-from-home wardrobe here today.
Oh, just a regular old hoodie. I will say that it's going to be sweatpants all day, every day until the spring. And I mean, that's just the fact, where we live, man, like it's cold. Like I'm not going to try to be that guy who's wearing shorts and flip-flops in the middle of winter and, trying to stick it out, right? So, I think sweatpants is more than fine for a work-from-home attire.
Yeah, I'm a big sweatpants guy too. I wear them every single damn day. Okay, that's enough small talk here, Gilles. We have 7 total picks across the NBA and the NHL this evening. Then we're going to talk a little Lamar Jackson and some NBA stuff in the second half of this show. But now let's get right into that action. A lot of beautiful spots tonight, and the first beautiful spot comes tonight in beautiful Miami. The Cleveland Cavaliers in 10, and I'm going to take a shot on those Cavs, small favorite -2. So the number one rule of CTP, we fade the Miami Heat after a win. That's the situation they're in for this game. They won their most recent game on Monday versus the Hawks. They are 9-22-3 against the spread after a win. They're also a god-awful bet at home. No home court advantage in Miami. They're covering at just 29% on their home court. That is the worst in the NBA. 9-22-2 ATS in Miami for the Heat. And, of course, you got to dig into the stats here. And the Cavs are better in many key areas. Last 10 games, they come out ahead in EFG percentage, opponent EFG percentage. They're turning it over less, allowing fewer free throws, and defending the paint better. Give me the Cleveland Cavaliers -2. Now, Gilles, you have a prop for this game that you like very, very much. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so I think I'm with you in that sense that the Heat, especially in the latter parts of the season, have just not been what we're used to. And, they are relying a little bit more on the three-point shots. And normally this is my Jimmy Butler spot. I love taking him at plus money, especially after a game where he doesn't attempt a three-point shot. But I'm actually going to look at his teammate on this one. I'm going to take Tyler Herro for over 2.5 three-pointers at -115. So this season, he won six-man last year, but he's the full-time starter this year. And as a result, he's ranking in the top 10 in both three-point attempts and three-point makes. He's averaging just over 3 makes per game from behind the arc. And the volume is what keeps bringing me back here for Herro, because he leads the team with 8.2 attempts from behind the arc per game. And the Cavs defense, their bread and butter, is obviously under the perimeter, where you got Evan Mobley and Jared Allen there. It's near impossible to score around the rim because they do lead the NBA in contested shots at the basket. But they're 5th in the NBA in shots inside the arc. They're actually 22nd in shots from three-point. So I think there's a clear formula here when you're betting against this Cavaliers defense. And I know it's a bit of a smaller sample, but since the All-Star break, the Cavs not been defending the perimeter very well. They ranked 27th in three-point shooting percentage to opposing guards. It's up to 42.5%. And if your Heat off a win trend is accurate here, then Tyler Herro will be even in a better spot because he's averaging 3.2 three-point makes per game in losses at 39% shooting. So Tyler Herro over 2.5 three-pointers at -115 is my favorite bet of the night.
Okay, back to me for 2 here. Another beautiful spot we have in New Orleans with the Dallas Mavericks in 10. I'm going to take the home team Pelicans to cover as a small dog plus 1.5 points here. So this is a perfect storm of trends with all of them favoring the New Orleans Pelicans. So let's get right into this one. Dallas, after a win. This is a situation they're coming off of here last night. They beat the Utah Jazz. They are 8-23-2 after a win. That is the worst in the NBA. Also playing on no rest here. 2-7-1 ATS on 0 days rest. That is the worst in the NBA. And yeah, they're only a small favorite, but it is worth noting they're only covering at 28.6% as a road favorite this season. And you dig into the numbers, this Mavs team is very bad defensively. Last 10 games, 27th in opponent EFG shooting percentage, 27th in points allowed per 100 possessions, and 27th again in opponent free throw attempt rate. Give me the Pelicans plus 1.5. Next up, we're off to beautiful Denver, Colorado, where the Chicago Bulls are in town. Maybe a sneaky little spot here. I'm going to take the Bulls to cover the first half spread, coming in at plus 4.5 points. So the Bulls suddenly becoming a great first half team, flying under the radar probably a little bit. They are third in first half point margin over the last 10 games. Denver down there at 14. Chicago 8-2 against the spread, by the way, in their last 10 first halves on the road. Now dig into the numbers specific to the first half. The Bulls fall off in the second half, but Chicago close or better in many first half key stats here. Most notably, better in first half opponent EFG percentage, 4th versus 18th, and 4th versus last in opponent turnover percentage. The Bulls are frisky, goddammit, and great interior defense and discipline. First in points allowed in the paint for the Bulls, 24th for the Nuggets. Also, Bulls doing a great job at keeping opponents off the free throw line. So don't expect too many easy ones for Denver. Give me the Bulls to cover the first half spread. All right, next up, we're off to G-Dog. We got 2 for this one. The Raptors Clippers. We each have a player prop we like. Jill, get us started. What do you like in this one?
Yeah, Joe, we're just flying through these right now. With this game, I'm going to go with Kawhi Leonard, and I'm going to take his 3-point prop. I'm going to take the over on it. I love the odds at plus 120. I'm seeing it as low as minus 110 in some spots. So getting that extra value, make sure to shop around. And the reason why we want to take Kawhi is he's shooting 41.3% from 3-point range. Why I bring that up is it's actually his career best as a Clipper, and it's his best 3-point shooting percentage since the 2016 season. Now, from a recency standpoint, he's hit this in 4 or 5 games since the All-Star break. It should have been 5 in a row. The game he didn't hit it was actually against the Warriors, and he had 2 3-pointers at halftime, and then Warriors third quarter took over, and the Clippers barely played in the second half, or at least the starters, just because of the blowout. And when you go a little bit further, if you just look since the start of February, because Kawhi is that type of player, he didn't play all of last season, so he's kind of getting back into his groove. And since the start of February, shooting 52% from 3-point on 5.5 attempts per game, and facing a Raptors defense, despite being mostly swingmen outside of like Fred VanVleet, obviously, they're all, that 6'8 to 6'10 forward. You would think they would be really good against defending the perimeter, and they're not. They're actually second last in the NBA in 3-point shooting percentage. And they also give up the most 3-pointers made to opposing forwards, around 9.5 per game on about 25 attempts. Both of those are bottom of the NBA. So barring a blowout, I expect a nice 40-minute workload for Kawhi in this one, and I think he's going to go over his 3-point prop at plus 120.
Like Kawhi Leonard revenge game. There you have it. So I got a prop for this one that I like quite a bit. I'm going to take Pascal Siakam, 25 or more points, going off at plus 140. Absolutely a beautiful spot here. This is just slightly above his season average of 24.7 points. Seeing sky-high scoring. Clippers games here. We could see a track meet in LA tonight. The Clippers allowing the second most points per game over the last 10 while scoring the sixth most. LA is getting killed in multiple areas from three on the fast break and in the paint, where they ranked 27th in points allowed over the last 10 games. Siakam scores about half of his points in the paint and should be able to feast there tonight. And it is worth noting, he dropped 36 on them back in December, and he's had 25 or more in 3 straight games versus the Clippers. Pascal Siakam, 25 or more plus 140. All right, we move next to the ice, the lone NHL pick for today's show. Now, we hit a big ice dog on Monday, San Jose Sharks plus 195. Let's go even bigger for this one. Give me the Chicago Blackhawks plus 202 in Detroit versus the Red Wings. The Red Wings have no business being this big of a favorite. What's going on here? It's close, but the Blackhawks have been better lately. Not only have they won more games over the last 10 games, but they also come out ahead in both expected goals for percentage and high danger chances for percentage. Also, spending the 6th fewest time in the penalty box. Very disciplined hockey right now from Chicago. Detroit, zero firepower whatsoever. This might be the worst offense in the NHL right now. Last 10 games, bottom 3 in expected goals for, high danger chances for, and shots on net. Chicago's had their number. Both of these teams have been awful for the most part for the past few seasons. Chicago's had a major edge, winning 12 of the last 16 between these teams. Let's take a swing. Give me the Chicago Blackhawks plus 202. Indeed. We are swingers around here, Gilles. If you didn't already know. If you're watching on YouTube right now, guys, do me a favor. Hit that like button right down there. There's a subscribe button right down there as well. That is my Gilles. Are you subscribed to the Vegas Insider YouTube channel?
Of course. I have notifications set on. It auto plays when I turn my TV on when I'm downstairs. I've actually considered getting a Vegas Insider tattoo. I don't know. I'm still kind of on the fence.
Company guy. Gotta like that. Okay,
Down
guys. So
for the cause.
7 total picks. 7 total picks handed out on the show today. If you're looking to tail, if you're looking to fade, the choice, quite simply, is yours. As a responsible adult, I recommend placing your action over at BetMGM. Let me tell you a little bit about them. Sign up with BetMGM using the promo code VIBONUS and get a first bet offer up to $1,000 paid back in bonus bets if you don't win. That's VIBONUS, all one word, no spaces, for a first bet offer of up to $1,000 paid back in bonus bets if you don't win. Just use the code VIBONUS. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. You must be 21 years or older to wager. Offers for new customers only. BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. Woo! Woo! All right. Take it easy on the woo sound effect. Okay. So let's kick around a couple different topics here, Gilles. Of course, the topic of the day in our world is Lamar Jackson. So the Ravens, what's it called? The non-exclusive franchise tag. They put that on Lamar. They're essentially putting the ball in the court of everybody else, saying, hey, if you want this guy, come get him. Make him an offer. We think it's reasonable. We'll match. I doubt they're going to match. But, it's a hot debate. A bunch of teams already coming out saying they're not interested. Field Yates from ESPN put out this tweet yesterday with this list of teams that reportedly will not be pursuing a deal for Lamar Jackson. Include the Falcons, Dolphins. It would be idiotic if the Dolphins did. Panthers, Commanders, and Raiders. I think the only team that shouldn't be interested would be the Dolphins. They got Tua still on that rookie deal. And let's not pretend Lamar Jackson is the picture of health for an NFL quarterback. So let's kick around a couple of these options here, Gilles. Taking a look at that list here, why wouldn't the Washington Commanders be interested in Lamar Jackson? This team has been a revolving door for starting quarterbacks. You know, they got some nice pieces at the skill positions. You got to think Ron Rivera is getting very, very desperate to save his job. You know, that's a franchise that needs a little bit of a spark. I think that the Commanders absolutely should make a run at that guy. You know, they don't exactly play in the toughest division. Of course, the Eagles are good, probably great. Cowboys are good. The Giants overachieved quite a bit, I would say, their last season. But I would say the Commanders should go after him, or the Raiders or the Jets. If the Jets lose out on Aaron Rodgers, apparently they're flying out to meet him today. If he tells them, you know, hit the road, I want no part of this team, I don't know why Aaron Rodgers would be interested in playing for the Jets. Do you think a lot of appeal to play with Garrett Wilson for some reason? I don't see that for Aaron Rodgers, but the Jets are going to be extremely desperate if Aaron Rodgers does not want to go there. They could throw a ton of money at him. Conversely, you think the Raiders want to start the season with Will Levis or one of these guys as our starting quarterback? I think they could be pretty desperate too. But I know the Commanders said they're not interested, but I think if I needed to say what spot is it going to be, if it's not going to be the Ravens, I would say Commanders or the Jets. What do you think?
Well, there's a lot of layers to this onion, Joe. I think the first thing, let's just talk about the situation first, and then I want to look at the team. So first off, I just want to say that I think both the Ravens and Lamar botched this entire situation. I could try to throw the blame on the Ravens for dragging their feet and wait to see kind of what they want to do with this, and they could have gotten a discount if they would have just took care of this maybe like 2 seasons ago or even just last season. So again, I get it why NFL teams do this. But then Lamar, for example, doesn't have an agent. The most important position, like where to me that just blows my mind. Like the one guy that I could think of from a recent memory that did that and it actually kind of worked out was Bobby Wagner. When he re-signed with the Seahawks, he had no agent, but he could literally just list his numbers and show the importance. It was a little more cut and dry of his impact on the team. Whereas Lamar, not having an agent, like this is a perfect time where you would think like Clutch or, you know, another type of agency would be able to swoop in and be able to get that kind of guaranteed money of Deshaun Watson of kind of what he's looking for. Another factor that has kind of derailed this whole process because once a new quarterback signs, it sets the market again, and then it just completely goes off the rails, and nobody's going to pay Lamar Jackson $250 million guaranteed over X amount of years. It's just not going to happen. And then also with the Ravens putting this franchise tag tender on it, it makes it near impossible as well for another team to want to pursue him because first round picks are so important, whether it be you're drafting a quarterback or another player because of the salary cap issue. So there's all of that issues now of where we're at, of why things that you have to consider when you're looking at potential landing spots for Lamar. Now, the Jets, yeah, they would probably be the number one team that I would look at if they do not get Aaron Rodgers. I think the fact that Aaron Rodgers, yes, he's 39, you're going to have to pay less guaranteed money over the few years that you would have him, and you probably have to give up less draft capital to get him. But does he move the needle enough to be able to win in the AFC? I'm not sure. I did just recently sprinkle on the Jets Super Bowl odds around 25-1, just because of the idea that if they get anybody who's even remotely competent at quarterback, they're going to improve. I mean, they were 7-10 last season. I don't know if I would say that was them overachieving because their defense was really good and they were ranked top DVOA in a lot of different spots that are, you know, huge for winning. Now, obviously, a coaching standpoint is a little bit of an issue for them because Robert Saleh is somebody that, while I trust him defensively, I'm not sure if I trust that team and offense to be able to use a guy like either Aaron Rodgers or Lamar Jackson and maximize their skill set. The one team that I was thinking of as a dark horse for Lamar, Joe, and I wanted to put this in your court. What do you think of the Detroit Lions? Detroit Lions have gotten a lot of good pieces. You know, they're kind of in a win now mode. I mean, I know some people are probably a little more higher on Jared Goff than I am, but I feel like if you bring in a guy like Lamar Jackson, especially if Rodgers does leave the division and that division is a little more wide open because Chicago is still a little bit of a mess and Minnesota is a little bit of a fraud, is that this could be a good spot for Lamar to land and be able to, get somewhere in the NFC, and I think as well, if the Ravens are going to be trading Lamar, they likely don't want to trade him within the AFC either. And if I'm Lamar, I'm not really sure if you want to play in the AFC just because of how much of a gauntlet it is to get to a Super Bowl. So I think at this point, the one team that I would probably say that isn't on that list that I think that should be considering a quarterback upgrade would be the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, unfortunately, I got to disagree big time. I think it would be a mistake.
Did we just agree the entire time? It'd just be a big echo chamber.
Yeah, I think it would be. I saw a lot of people throwing that at the Detroit Lions. I think it would be a mistake of epic proportions if the Detroit Lions quit the path that they're on and go out and trade 2 first-round draft picks for Lamar Jackson. I think that this team's on a great path. They're rebuilding the right way, the offensive line, some key defensive players. And Jared Goff, I know he's a bit of a punching bag, but statistically, this guy was a top 10 quarterback last season. Give him another chance. He's still young. See if he can do it long term. He's a guy that got completely thrown under the bus by the Rams. Sure, some of that was his fault. But yeah, I do think that would be a mistake by the Lions to get off that course that they're on now that this division, the NFC North, is finally opening up for them. So 2 things I'll say about Lamar, and we'll leave it at this. One good and one bad. Something I pointed out during the playoffs, I think he really hurt himself when he didn't show up to be on the sideline for the Ravens in the playoffs during that game against the Bengals. Nothing has come out yet, at least I don't think. Please correct me if there has, to support him, why he wasn't there on the sideline. That's something we see all the time. The quarterback's injured. He's sitting there on the sideline with the headset on, helping out with the backup QB. So I think that's something that really hurt him. The bad blood is brewing big time between him and the Ravens, but something to support him. Let's not pretend like Lamar Jackson has been surrounded by these just incredible skill players throughout his time here with the Ravens. Who's the best receiver he's had? I know Mark Andrews is a pretty damn good tight end, but it's not like he's had an elite offense around him. So the Ravens, you could argue that they're just way too dependent on Lamar Jackson, right? So if you put him into a team with, a top 10 wide receiver, a really good offensive line, a decent running back, who knows? The ceiling, he could emerge to be a definitive top 3 quarterback in the NFL. Okay, so let's switch gears here a little bit to the NBA. Let's play a little game here, Gilles. A game called True or False. I'm going to throw a statement at you. I'm not saying I agree with this statement, but it is indeed a statement. You can give me a true or false, a bit of a follow-up, and we'll kick it around a little bit. So, true or false, the team that's currently occupies the first overall spot in the Western Conference, the Denver Nuggets, they will not advance to the Western Conference Finals.
That's false. I think that the path for them is set up. I think a lot of the teams that they're going to be facing that are playing in that play-in spot right now for the West are either this close to being like, I'm going to tank the rest of the year, or we're going to go for it. Like, so you might play a team like OKC or something along those lines, maybe Utah, if they decide if they're going to tank or not. So I think at least they're getting out of the first round, and then the second round, you start to see a little bit more of a stagger. But Denver at home has just been awesome this season. Even Jokic, his shot attempts are down, but he's still the MVP. Being able to have guys like a Jamal Murray and a healthy Michael Porter Jr. Really, if this team is healthy, especially with some of the additions that they made at the trade deadline, I thought Reggie Jackson was a solid pickup for them. Aaron Gordon, I think, is still playing elite defense on the perimeter. So they've got a lot of different tools and ways to attack people. And I think that, you look at teams below them right now, outside of Phoenix, it doesn't really get too scary. Memphis is kind of falling off a cliff. I don't know if anybody really trusts what the Warriors are right now. Like, I'm not going to dismiss the Warriors when they're fully healthy. We just saw Steph Curry drop 40 last night, like off of what seemed like an injury that he was probably going to be out for at least another couple of weeks. So the Warriors are obviously the biggest competition, but again, those two teams, the teams that I just mentioned, they probably wouldn't face them until the Western Conference Finals anyway. So that is why I think that the Nuggets will at least make the Western Conference Final this year.
Yeah, I would like to see them go on a bit of a run so people shut up about Jokic. You know, people have to come on and complain about something on these sports talk shows and stat padding and stuff. But I don't know, man. I kind of get the vibe from the Denver Nuggets as a great regular season team. I definitely get that from the Sacramento Kings. Now, one of those teams is going to get a raw deal because out of the play-in might come. Who knows how the rest of the season is going to go for Golden State? They might be one of these teams that comes out of the play-in and has to play the Nuggets or the Kings. That's not a good draw. That's not a good reward for finishing first or second in the conference. And hey, I think the Lakers look pretty damn good too, and we'll get to them in a moment here. So, true or false, number 2. Ben Simmons is completely broken and will never, ever again in his career get a sniff of an All-Star game.
False on broken, true on All-Star game. I don't know if like the way that he would get in with the All-Star game is he would have to be voted in, whether it be by fans with the initial starters, which is never going to happen because the public perception on him is at an all-time low, and even the perception within the league is at an all-time low. So he would have to average like 25, 10, and 10 just for people to overlook that and finally get in maybe as a bench player on the All-Star team. So that is the reason why. And again, that just seems so far-fetched to even bring up. The fact right now that Markelle Fultz is a more impactful NBA player than Ben Simmons was definitely not on my bingo card for 2023.
Yeah, it's crazy how it happened. Was it the Celtics or the Bucks that they played when he passed up that layup and Doc Rivers threw him under the bus? Who was that when he
Hawks.
just...
It was in the round of the playoffs.
The Hawks,
against
excuse
the Hawks
me, yeah.
in 7.
That completely broke him as an NBA player. Completely rattled him. The free throws he kept missing. And I think it was Ryan Russillo on the Bill Simmons podcast said he isn't something along the lines of Ben Simmons likes the job of being an NBA player. Of course, you get to look cool with all the fancy clothes and you're getting paid all that money. But when it comes out in actually doing it, I don't think it's in the cards anymore for Ben Simmons. Simmons has got to go just to one of these irrelevant franchises. Put him on the Wizards or a team like that maybe, and you'll see him have success.
I was thinking the Spurs. Like the Spurs seems like the most logical impact because, again, they're more like, nurture, I think, as well. And they used to have a really good three-point specialist coach. He's no longer with the team. But, again, they still have a great foundation and infrastructure. And if they were to get, let's say they get the top pick and they get Wembanyama, and then they still have Jeremy Sochan, and then adding kind of a guy like Ben Simmons with that route. Again, you don't want to pay Ben Simmons like $40 million, but if you're getting him at like league minimum or whatever else, if you're thinking of just ideal landing spot, then it is the San Antonio Spurs.
Indeed. Okay. Next one. This is something you floated on social media a while back, and I don't know if you were being serious or not. Statement, true or false? Phil Jackson is extremely overrated as a head coach.
Did I say this on? I'm pretty sure I've said this on the show too. That Phil Jackson kind of annoys me. I think in retrospect, when you look back since the early '90s, of course, I'm not going to deny that he had an impact on. What is it now? 6 + 5. So 11 championships. Of course, he had an impact on that. But when you go look at now the dynamic of who was on those teams, you've got arguably the best player in Michael Jordan. Then you've got arguably, like, depending on which circles, you could say that Kobe, is second best player of all time. Depending on how you feel about Shaq, he could be considered the greatest player of all time, or at least the most dominant of all time. So again, he's getting these kind of players that are the best of the best. And I kind of feel like right now that a lot more credit is being given to him and being able to coax and prod these guys into becoming a better team instead of just the X's and O's aspect, especially when you think about the triangle and how outdated that offense is, especially in today's NBA. That Phil Jackson, again, I just think that he gets a little too much praise for how much accolades comparison to Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant and Shaq.
Yeah, I think Phil Jackson in his prime, really good at managing personalities. If you had Phil Jackson in his prime coaching the Brooklyn Nets team of KD, Kyrie, and James Harden, maybe they would have had a lot more success. Steve Nash gets
Okay.
completely railroaded by those guys, but fucking hypotheticals here. Who gives a shit? Okay, so
So
let's
you're
get to
saying
more
basically Phil
modern days.
Jackson runs a good HR department is basically what we're hearing, is that he runs a good HR department. He's a good manager. But yeah, to me, when I hear that stuff, I'm just like, okay, well, managing personalities, I feel like you can almost find that, in any way, shape, or form in any job kind of thing. So again, I just feel like, again, Phil Jackson, I think the big thing too that really bugs me is you think about how much money he probably made and just, for writing that book where he basically just trashed Kobe for multiple chapters and then comes back and is like, we're all good. It just, come on, man. Like, to me, that's what really just made it completely where I put Phil Jackson on that side now. Like, once you wrote that book, you bought into the Hollywood lifestyle of being a Lakers coach like that. And once you do that stuff, I'm out.
Jeez, Jill feels quite strongly about Phil Jackson here. Chasing that paper, you're home for Phil Jackson takes. Okay, so let's move on to some more modern day Lakers stuff. I think they look pretty damn good, man. Another win last night. Nothing really to write home about. The Jamarantless Grizzlies. But hey, this team is moving in the right direction. So true or false, the Lakers will, at the very least, advance through the play-in and win a playoff series.
False. I don't think that they're going to get out of the first round. So it's like half true, half false. Like, I think they could win the play-in and get into the playoffs as a 7 or 8 seed, but I think they would get beat by the Nuggets. I think they would get beat by Phoenix. I even think Sacramento would give them a run, even as bad as their defense has been all season. Mainly because if you look back, like, LeBron is 38. He's not 28. Like, when he was coming off that injury after the bubble championship and that high ankle sprain, I know it's a different injury. It's a foot injury. But again, that's part of the allure of LeBron, is the explosiveness and being able to bully through to the paint. And if he can't run and he's got no lift, that team, like, he's not, I don't want to say that he's like a minus, but at the same time, he's just not what we're expecting. Like, he's not the LeBron of old, right? Or of young, I guess, if we're not making dad puns here. But that's, for me, is that I don't think that the Lakers can advance in the playoffs based on the roster that they have. And especially if LeBron is limited at all, there's just so many injury history. Pretty much anytime Anthony Davis gets hit, like, I'm wondering if he's hurt. Like, I hit an Anthony Davis 3-point prop last night. He was shooting 25% from three. And I was joking to my buddies that, what do you think is more probable? That he hits a 3-pointer or he gets hurt tonight? And most of my group thread was like, yeah, I think he could actually get hurt. I wasn't trying to be a Negatron and trying to reverse jinx here, but at the same time, there's a legitimate chance that Anthony Davis just takes the wrong hit and then that team is completely shambled. And I know that we could just say, well, that's the case for any team if their top player gets hurt. Yes, but Anthony Davis gets hurt more than others.
All right, true or false? On to the next one. Oh, I like the Lakers. I like their depth. I wouldn't be surprised if they surprise people. Anthony Davis, though, as you say, his bones are made of chalk. True or false on this one? Gilles Gallant has stolen from his mother-in-law's purse.
I will definitely go false, but in my younger years, if I was married, and maybe if I was somehow married in my teen years, maybe there might have been a possibility. But now that I'm more financially stable, there will be no theft of stuff from a mother-in-law's purse.
I bet Gilles Gallant, a thief during his teenage years, apparently. Okay, let's leave it at this. And maybe this is something I have more of an opinion on, but I'll throw this at you, a bit of a take. True or false for you? Damian Lillard needs to pipe down about how great it is that he's staying loyal to Portland and hasn't joined a super team. What are your thoughts on that statement?
Well, I think it's column A, column B. I think that's false, mainly because it's not like he is proactively going out there and tweeting or throwing Instagram posts or whatever else saying like loyal or any of that stuff. It's a lot of the time it's, Chris Haynes, who has a good relationship with the Portland beat, or, other national reporters that they'll just come up and ask him the question and he answers and that's it. I think that's really what it comes down to. Now, I will turn it around and say that at this point, it's a tired story. I kind of feel like at this point, if you're a national reporter or a beat reporter for the Blazers, stop asking that question. He's not going to leave. Like, and he already has said it on many times, that he's not going to leave. Now, I will say, yes, there is maybe a little too much Barry Horowitz, backpatting here on being able to stay with Portland. But in today's NBA, where guys are moving for even the smallest of slights, it is admirable the fact that he is still now with the Portland Trail Blazers.
I got to disagree with you. I think he's got to pipe down. Maybe I'm reading into it differently, but I see him leaning into that narrative quite a bit about how great it is that he's staying loyal to the city of Portland and this team and not joining a super team. Congratulations. Giannis didn't leave the Bucks, and he won a championship. You don't see him patting himself on the back continuously for that. And how much money is Damian Lillard making? $45 million a season or something? Okay, if he's taking a team-friendly discount, $50 million. If he's taking a team-friendly discount or something like that, okay, sure. Saving the team some money so that they can attract some more talent. They're not even winning. So I don't know.
No, I hear you. And again, it's really funny, too, because if you look at their comparison, like they're like number one team in offense, but they're bottom 5 in defense. Like, and even though they have made lots of different moves to be able to accentuate Lillard's skills and being able to, there's just nowhere in the West, even as wide open as it is, they would probably not even be a top 6 team. Like, they're not going to be, they would have to probably get into the play in that way. And the fact that, Damian Lillard, he is considered a top 75 player of all time. Obviously Giannis has not mentioned the fact that he is leaving, but I think the rumblings of Giannis leaving would have increased had he not won that title. I think that's the other thing too, because we're seeing right now that narrative with Jokic about how is he going to do in the playoffs? How can we give this guy a third MVP when they haven't made the Western Conference Finals? Same thing with Giannis. That rap was out there about him until they won the title against the Suns. So I guess that's the one thing I would say is that, unfortunately, the narrative is going to continue with Lillard pretty much until he retires. Hey, you're going to leave, because the likelihood of Portland winning a championship is very low.
There you have it. Okay, we will leave it at that. A lot of interesting takes from Dog and I. The Portland Trailblazers.
I should reiterate, I'm not that down on Phil Jackson. I just don't want to start saying that he's the best coach of all time because of the championships. I think that's the one thing that sometimes the narrative gets out there about Phil Jackson is that, like, well, he has all these championships, he's clearly the best coach. It's like, well, not necessarily. Like, sometimes you got to have the talent, and if you don't have the talent, then you're like, you can coach your ass off and have the best X's and O's and still only win 40 games.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's more with him, the HR department managing the personalities. Let's stop talking.
Noted Phil Jackson hater.
Yeah. Okay, let me tell you a little bit about the Vegas Insider app here, guys. It gives you all the major sports betting odds at your fingertips, along with picks and expert breakdowns. If you want more Vegas Insider content like our shows, videos, and podcasts, you can find it all on the app in the media section. Download the Vegas Insider app on Apple or Android. Bet better with the Vegas Insider app. Okay, let's get into some viewer picks here. I think we got 4 or 5 of them today, so let's rip through these here, Tito. We're going to start with Merck. He's saying, hold your nose and take Cal plus 14 and under 127. The 2 slowest offenses in the Pac-12. And this is somehow going to be a 15-point blowout? 60-52 type of game. Yeah, I like the look, especially on the Cal side of things, at plus 14 with a low total like that. Good look from Merck, and good luck to him. What do we have next? Matty Puppy Sports, resident trend better. He likes George Mason -2 versus Richmond. Neutral Corp at Richmond is 1-11 straight up away and 3-12 ATS in their last 15 overall. George Mason is 5-1 ATS in their last 6. George Mason won and covered both games in league this season. Richmond had a tough game yesterday, while George Mason comes in rested and playing well. Good luck to Matty Puppy Sports with a George Mason -2. All right. Schreckengost. Hopefully we can both win our bets on this game. He likes the Nuggets to go over that team total of 117.5, and I like the first number he has. Denver has put up 118 or more in 19 of their last 21 games at home. He's going against me a little bit here. Chicago defense was absolutely elite in February, but haven't been quite the same to start March. 115 versus Pistons, 125 to the Suns, 125 to the Pacers. Points allowed, and Denver just some awesome offensive numbers at home. So yeah, I hope we can both win our picks here on that one, Nathan. Chicago first half spread for me. What do we have next? Producer Tito weighing in. Now, Tito is 1-0 in his last 1 picks. So, based on his history of submitting picks, he's probably due for a loss here. The big Paris Saint-Germain game versus Bayern Munich. He likes under 3.5 goals. PSG will be without Neymar, and Bayern ahead on aggregate. Expect them to play a very defensive-minded game. Bayern is going to slow the match down and make it boring. Seems like a bit of a square play to me. Good luck to Tito. I think we got one more here. No, I thought we had one more there. Let's see. When I submit it, I want to get this one in because the guy hit yesterday. Tito, I don't think has a graphic for it. Kowloon City. He gave one. It's on the thread on Twitter that I put out. He likes Harry Kane over 1.5 shots on target plus 110. Spurs will have to overturn a 1-0 deficit at home. Expect them to be on somewhat of a suicide offense. I like that. Suicide offense. Kane will have ample opportunities to the Nets. So good luck. Harry Kane over 1.5 shots on target there. Plus 110. I don't know anything about soccer. I'm not going to pretend to, but I do like that little write-up that he gave us. Okay. Off track here just momentarily. I want to tell you guys before we go back to Gilles about today's handicapper heat check presented by VegasInsider.com. Your home for the best expert picks in the business since 1997. Today's featured expert is Joe Nelson, who is on an 11-1 NBA streak. VI's college hoops experts are heating up with both Alex Smart and AAA Sports nailing 5 straight winners. Visit VegasInsider.com/picks for today's conference tournament action and NBA best bets. That's your handicapper heat check. Stay hot, bettors. All right, Gilles, wrapping right up here for the day. But, of course, everyone knows you work over at the Action Network. So tell us a little bit about what you got going on over there and where we can find your work.
Sure. So for NBA season, I'm going to be on the Buckets podcast, which is part of the Action Network podcast, specifically focusing on the NBA. I'm going to be on that every Thursday. I'm going to be on Green Dot Daily, Action Network's new daily show on Mondays. Both of those times when I go on there, I'm going to be giving out my favorite NBA three-point props. And if you don't catch the shows, but you want to see what the props that I'm going to be betting for each night for the NBA, all you got to do is download the Action Network app. You can follow me at GDog5000, and you can see which picks that I'm going to be making every day.
There we have it. One of the best in the business, GDog5000. My oldest friends. A lot of people don't realize G-Dog and I went to broadcast journalism school together.
I know. Not only did we do
that
right
away.
A couple beverages, couple cigarettes, and we've been best friends ever since.
Tobacco-friendly friendship here. Okay, guys, that does it for today's episode of Chasing That Paper. I'm going to be right back with you tomorrow. Hopefully Ian's feeling a little bit better. He called in sick, by the way, on Monday's show, as regular viewers probably recall. Now, Ian, we're not going to let him off the hook either. That Cyril Gone pick he made over the weekend, the biggest bet he ever made in his life. He was pretty goddamn arrogant about that one. So he's going to hear from me tomorrow. We're also going to be breaking down our favorite Major League Baseball over-under win totals for the 2023 season. So we thank our guest, Gilles Gallant, for joining us again today. Make sure you follow him on Twitter. Best of luck with your bets tonight. Unless, of course, you are fading us. And as always, keep chasing that paper. Whoa!